Hey YouTube, happy Monday. It's Jonathan again. This is my weekday, daily, not podcast, but just kind of general stream of thought that I'm making into a regular habit. I'm calling it the drive out, which is my drive home from work. It's a good half hour to 45 minutes where I just discuss what's on my mind, things I'm thinking about with regard to general life, my YouTube channel, other ambitions I might be thinking about. So, I'm trying to be a little more thoughtful with what I'm speaking about and recording. I don't want it to just be a random blurb of things that are incoherent and waste people's time. I'm also going to put a tiny bit more effort into chopping up the content, getting rid of the noise and the blank spaces and the ums and all that I do, which is, part of just expressing yourself. So I've got my old phone recording, which is the same phone I have now. It's just a cracked screen. And I've got my new phone for my notes, which I'm hoping will help me be a little more coherent and organized with my conversations with you guys. So today my topic is compounding beats the hustle. So I'm sure you've heard of the hustle mindset. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of that idea, hustle culture, as it were. My belief quite strongly is that if you have, bygones be bygones, you do what you're going to do. But in my humble opinion, I think that the better way to do things is to build systems into your life that make it automatic to manage the minutia of your day, and then you can focus on compounding your goals by having, what I said, compound interest, just like when you invest, compound interest in the things you want to improve upon. Let's see here. So the hustle myth is all or nothing. What do I have here now? It's all about immediate gratification. It's unsustainable, and it generally leads to burnout, which, if you're any kind of person who's striving for anything, who has strived in the past for anything that's worthwhile, you've probably gotten to that point of burnout. Maybe it's something as simple as playing a video game. You've overplayed it and you've gotten burnt out on it, right? That's the same idea. And there's a hidden cost to this hustle mindset, which is it affects your mental health in negative ways, and it can negatively impact your sleep. And we know from plenty of studies, the literature is quite clear, sleep is the most important thing for mental acuity, mood, all the stuff that impacts your day-to-day life, and therefore impacts you as a person and how you show up in your life. One moment here as I get through this light. So the core of this compounding idea and the solution to this problem is, I strongly believe in the 1% daily idea. So every day you take one step further than you were, even if it feels like it's not much of a step, as long as you're moving the needle just a touch, a hair in the direction of what you're aiming for, that will compound on itself. And it's not just that it's not just 1% daily better, it's your 1% daily better than the day before, and that repeats and compounds on itself. So it's not just, at the end of the year, you're 365% better, which would be 3.7 times better. You actually end up being 37 times better. 37 times better. That's astronomical, and that's the power of exponentials. If you listen to any kind of tech enthusiast out there, or anyone who's talking about the deflationary nature of technology, a common trend, same with AI, a common trend is the discussion about exponential curves. And this is something we can see in technology since it's evolved from the 1950s, 60s, 70s to where it is now, with computers, desktops, laptops, mobile devices. The further we go down this trajectory, it's an exponential curve after exponential curve, and it's just, you don't really see an end in sight. You think it's going to end, and then suddenly there's another curve we hop onto. Now, my main point here is that systems always beat out goals. Systems always beat out discipline. It's not about how much you can will your way to what you want. Willpower is great in the moment, but willpower is not going to get you the goal you want long term, because it's like a mood. Moods come and go. One day you're feeling 100%, the next day you're feeling like negative 50. You feel like shit, right? It's not sustainable. So the big thing is to focus on the process and the processes and the subroutines that make up the steps that that make up the ladder which you climb to reach to what you want. The next thing you're going to notice is, if you do this with systems building as opposed to just willpower or discipline, as it were, is you'll build momentum. I mentioned in I think it was my previous video, the flywheel effect. I've noticed this. I mentioned in 2 videos, I think, the flywheel effect. I've noticed that as I've started doing these videos more regularly, I'm building momentum, and that's something I'm trying to share with you as a general idea that I've already embodied it in other aspects of my life with things like physical health, like fitness, my personal life as a software developer. I've learned those skills on my own through not willpower, but just taking that first step and then compounding the interest on it and building momentum. Because I'm seeing the progress as I go, a little bit day by day, and as I go further and further and further, eventually you realize that what you've built is not just a simple system, but it's an entire network of little micro, digital agents that work on your behalf. I call them digital agents, but this can apply to anything in life. It doesn't have to be, digital or cloud-based or whatever. It doesn't have to be on a computer. I gave an example in the past, which was I had a bad habit of not brushing my teeth regularly every day, partially because I'd forget, partially out of laziness and neglect. But I'm making an effort now, and I told myself I want to show up for life. I want to be 100% in every way I can be. So the trick now is I put the toothpaste and the toothbrush on my desk, right in front of everything I'm trying to, all my peripherals, all my keyboards and mice and everything. I can't avoid it. It's right there in my face. And if I move it aside, I know right away that I'm committing a crime or a sin against myself. And that is the system. It's not about the guilt. It's about the fact that, I might forget. And this way I can't forget. It's not possible because it's right in my face. And this is just one example. Say you need to take medication daily for whatever reason. Same idea. If you're going to brush your teeth every morning, put it next to your toothpaste. Put it next to your toothbrush. Put it somewhere where it's not possible for you to miss it. Make it a habit. Make it a system, as opposed to just willpower. Because like I said, willpower is not sustainable. Now, another concept related to this, and you're going to find this if you go along this path of 1% increments per day kind of thing, it's the plateau of latent potential. So it's the invisible work you do when you get to that middle point in the curve where it doesn't feel like anything's happening. And this, I've never been able to avoid this. The only way you can avoid it is by giving up. But when you give up, basically you're partway through taking the steps you need, and suddenly it feels like nothing's happening for a while. You're just taking the steps, but there's no return on investment, as it were, ROI. But the trick is you push through that despite the fact that you don't see anything happening, as it were. You keep doing it anyway, and then eventually you actually get past that. It's the middle of the curve, and then suddenly things go ballistic. They go exponential. They go skyrocket. It's just you're right at that end of right at the top, right at the bottom of the curve before it leaps and skyrockets up. And most people don't stick with their goals long enough to get to that point. They give up just before, or well before they get to the peak of the curve where it's about to jump. downward inclines. And again, this is often because of a lack of, they're using willpower, and suddenly their willpower wanes because they feel discouraged. They feel like what they're trying to achieve isn't possible. They let the fear and the negativity get to them, right? Maybe it's the opinions of others, which we've also discussed in the past here on this channel. So, thirdly here, I want to talk about action and application. So it's not about building these grandiose, large systems. It's about the tiny daily habits and routines that you commit. Things that are so easy you can't say no. And again, I'll go back to my same example I have been, because it's the most relatable and simple I can think of. The toothbrush and the toothpaste on my desk. If it's there in my face, all I have to do is put it on the toothbrush. I could even do that in the future, just put it on the toothbrush and let it dry out a bit. Point being, it's right there. It takes 2 minutes, and it makes a world of difference. My breath smells better. My teeth look whiter. It builds my confidence. It's the return on investment for something so seemingly insignificant and small is quite the opposite. It is a magnificent positive in my life. It's something it's something great. Yeah, it's something great. Another thing we can discuss here is the 5-minute rule. What I would more say, or something maybe you've heard of this motivational speaker. Her name's Mel Robbins. So she has this rule called I think it's the 3-second rule, or the liftoff rule, or the 3-2-1 rule. So essentially, when you're thinking about or deciding to take action on something, instead of thinking about it, you don't think, because what happens if you delay taking action immediately, your brain will find reasons not to do it. It'll build friction against you, and you won't do the thing you said you would do. You won't commit to the thing because it goes away, it fades away. It's that willpower thing, that discipline thing. It's not about that. The point is, if you just teach yourself, the first one's always the hardest, but it gets easier. You just teach yourself to do. As soon as the thought comes to mind, I got to do this thing. You go 3, 2, 1, lift off. You just do it. You don't ask. You don't think about it. You're like, I don't want to mull it over. Do I want to do this? No. You just do it despite whatever your mind tells you. Anything. You just go. There's no question about it. It's a rocket ship lifting off. You don't get a choice in the matter. If you want it bad enough, you'll commit to this concept. It's a useful strategy. It doesn't matter what the topic is. Doesn't matter what you're trying to achieve or do. It's so simple, anybody can do it. It's right there. It's within your grasp. Now, to extrapolate, we're going to talk about the 5-minute rule. So if you're willing to commit to just working on the thing you want to work on for just 5 minutes, it removes all that friction. And if you're committing to 5 minutes, you get to the end of the 5-minute mark, and oftentimes I find in my own life, I forget that I was even committing to just 5 minutes, because my mind is now on that topic, on that subject, and I want to keep going because I've made a little bit of progress. I'm already kind of comfortable in the moment with that thing I'm focused on. It's just a matter of getting your focus and your attention on the thing you want, and once you're on it for a couple minutes, your mind will switch to prioritizing that task in front of you. And if it's something you're passionate about, even though it was hard to just kind of get into that groove for a second, because maybe you're new to it, or maybe you're doing something that's a little uncomfortable, it's the hard part of what you're trying to achieve. If you just just wedge yourself into the groove, and you just start moving the train down the track a little bit, that's all it takes. And your mind will do the rest. It'll realize this is not as uncomfortable or as difficult as I thought it was. You recenter your dopamine. You focus on something that's right in front of you, because you put it right in front of you. You change the lane of the track. You make the train go on the track that you want. Now, I got a little bit more to say here. The next thing is actually, it's called habit stacking. So you tell yourself, after this, I'll do this. After X, I'll do Y. If it's all lined up and you're committed to that first thing, there's less friction, there's less to worry about, because you have the momentum from that first commitment you made. And if you're already on the track to that commitment, there's no reason you can't jump to the next after that if there's multiple goals that are in sync or in line with what you need to get done. So habit stacking is a good way to, a good little trick. You know, you don't have to just commit to one thing and then, oh, now I'm going to go take lunch and then I'll just hang out with friends and I'll forget what I was doing. No, you can commit to multiple things in sequence. Same idea. And the final, and I would say probably the most important thing, is reframe your thought of failure. Reframe the idea of failure. And I made a whole video about failure and why it's not as amorphous and scary as it seems. It's not the end of the world. You know, you fail forward. So, reframing the failure. Never have 2 misses in a row. So, if you miss a commitment one time, that's one thing. If you miss it twice or more, you're making a new habit of not committing to your commitments. You're missing the mark. And you know, this is we can get a little bit more, what would you say? A little religious for a moment if you'd like. Missing the mark. You know, when you aim high, you're aiming at something that's above your current self. It's into the spiritual. It's into the ethereal. It's beyond you, and yet you can see it glimmering and shining up above you. And to miss the mark, to not aim at the target, to miss the target, that is the same as committing a sin. You know, if it's your own goal, it's a sin against yourself. You're betraying yourself. Now, we're all human. We all F up. We make mistakes. What do I want to say here? We all make mistakes. But, you know, it's one thing to trip up and mess up one time, you know, and to shame yourself or feel guilty about it. It's another thing to do it twice in a row. To you know, the first time you miss, that could be an accident. Twice in a row, though, that's kind of on you. That's you sinning against yourself. That's you letting yourself down. If you commit to a goal, be on it. You know, if it's not something you want, then tell yourself that. Aim for something else. But, you know, you should always have some kind of thing that's above you that you're aiming up towards. Because if you're not aiming up, you're either aiming down or you're aiming flat or you're not aiming at all. And any of those options that's not at least a little bit in the upward trajectory, you're essentially in free fall. You're falling because you're not working to become better than you currently are. You're not trying to overcome yourself. And as far as I've been able to understand and the people I've spoken to and just the things I've learned in my life, as young as I am, you know, I've learned a little bit with this. And I've felt it in my soul, in my heart. You owe it. You have a responsibility to yourself, to your family, to your community, to the world, to humanity, to the world, to be and show up as your best self, to be who you can be. Because why else would you be here if not to be the embodiment of the highest aim? Why else would you be here? We're here for one another, not for ourselves. You know, the road, I know this is easy as a guy because I've done this for a few years in my past. You know, it's easy to just let things go, to be self-centered, to just do your thing, to not give a shit about other people. But we're here for one another, and you owe it to yourself and to the people around you to show up as your best. You know, you can half-ass a test when you're in school. You can half-ass a relationship, you know, in your teens or whatever, or even in adulthood it happens. But if you know better, if you know you can do better and you don't, that's one of the worst feelings I've ever encountered in my life. And I felt so crappy and so shitty when I was that person. And you know, it's taken me time to get over that hump. But at this point in my life, I've decided I'm not going back to who I was. And this is why I say this. You become who you are by letting go of who you were. We start as blocks of marble, and the objective in life is to become a beautiful sculpture. The invisible hand will be there to sculpt you up into what you need to be, but it's up to you to bear your responsibility in life, to take on the burden. The meaning of life is found in the willingness to bear your responsibilities. It's not found in leisure. It's not found in hedonism. Pleasure is great for its own sake, but pleasure, as far as I've been able to discern, is it's in addition. It's meant to be sprinkled up here and there, just as a delight of life, as a little spark here and there. If you overdo it, it loses its value and its meaning, and you fall into a pit, not necessarily of despair, but meaninglessness. And I've been there. I'm telling you, I've been there, and it is not a good feeling. You can lie to yourself for a long time about this stuff. You can lie to yourself and say you're fine as you are. And hey, maybe in a lot of ways you are. Maybe you're doing a lot of good. And I think, again, this is not to be sexist, but particularly as a man, it's nice to hear that you're good enough as you are and someone's got your back, which, I do that for friends too. I have their back. But I always tell people, I got you, you're good enough as you are, but you could also still be so much more. You're not, God's not done with you yet, right? There's more to you than meets the eye. And whether that's your eye or somebody else's eye, there's more to you, and you know that. You know that deep inside of you. Again, if you were at your peak, if this was all there was, why would you be here experiencing life as you are? You're meant to grow, to be challenged, to change and morph. Like I said, from marble bricks and marble blocks to these beautiful sculptures. There's, I don't remember the exact quote, so I'm going to paraphrase. But this was one of the main driving forces that led me to work out and get into fitness was, I can't remember who said it. I think it was maybe a Greek philosopher or a Roman philosopher, I'm not sure. It was something like, a man, and again, this could be a woman too, a man, what's the saying? A man should at least once in his life reach his muscular and physical peak just to see what he's capable of. Something like that. That's not exactly it, but that's basically the essence of it. A man, another way to extrapolate this outside of fitness, what would happen? How great could you be? What would happen if you showed up 100%? Not show up for yourself, show up for work, show up for your friends, show up for your family, show up for your pets, show up for your neighbors, right? What would life be if we all did that? What would life be if we let go of our shame and our guilt and our willingness to just sit in depressive states, to cling to our past? What would we be if we let that all fall to the wayside? What if we encouraged each other to pursue something higher and not to dwell on our lower selves, not to live in a lower state of mind, in a lower frequency, vibration, whatever you'd like to call it? How great could we be? And that's the question I've been asking myself. How great could I be? And again, this is not about ego. This is more, how great could I be for myself, for everyone around me, for the world? And again, the world, there's that saying, the world is what you make of it, right? The world is our lens through which we see things. It's our interpretation of our senses. and how we perceive things around us. That is the world. It is your conscious experience. You can interpret that. You can tune your lens. You become what you focus on. It's the same idea as you are what you eat. You become what you focus on. When I was growing up, my mom always had these different little sayings in this kind of vein. Focus on the good things in people. Focus on the good things in life. Yeah. Excuse me. Not to get emotional sometimes, being a real person and being human and all. Yeah. It's quite something to have it's quite something to have a parent who believes in you. I forget where I was now. Right, believe in yourself. Take the damn risk. Do something with your life. Show up 100%. What's the worst that could happen, right? Again, I made a video. I think it was my last one I made. No, the video before last. I'll link it at the end of this one. The fear of failure, why it's irrational, especially if you're at the bottom, because when you're at the bottom, you have nothing to lose, right? And I said this before in another free-form conversation, another drive-out video like this. If you're at the bottom of something you're trying to, you're at the bottom of a hierarchy of something you're trying to climb, you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. And yet if there's opponents in the ring, or supposed opponents in the ring, or later on in the future there will be, they have a status quo to maintain. They have pride. They have things that they can lose. If it's a business, they could lose if you compete against them. But if you try and you fail, you didn't lose anything. You just wasted a bit of time. You didn't waste time. You learned something from it. It was never a waste. If you're at the bottom, you have nothing to lose. So why would you not just give it a shot? If you get over your fear of rejection and you realize that what other people think about you doesn't really matter. I mean, again, there should be people in your life who help guide you and judge you in good ways to make sure you're not becoming an idiot or a fool or whatever. But if you're trying to do something hard, something challenging, and there's people judging you for putting your foot in the water, trying to do something new with your life, well, for one, I would say shame on them. Whatever, it's just my opinion. Again, everyone has an opinion. But more than that, you got nothing to lose. So why would you not just go for it anyway? Why not just try it? And if you fall down, you quote unquote fail, you learn something, you experience something new, and you learn something from it. As long as you learn something, it wasn't a waste of time. And then if you have the courage to get back up again and show up again, show up to the plate, right? How great would we be if we got back up when we fell? How great could we be if we really believed that the world was within our grasp? That's kind of what I'm experimenting with right now. You know, today, something I haven't really discussed. Today I had a conversation during my lunch break there with my manager. I work as a painter. And I wasn't, you know, I don't know if it was on my end or his end or both. I'm kind of leaning towards it was a little more on his end, but that could just be my own viewpoint. I don't know. I don't know if it was insecurity or whatever, ego, whatever. But I had an opportunity to speak to him one-on-one for a moment. I approached him and I said, you know, hey, like, thanks for bringing me on to this painting job. You know, it's something new for me. I was a little uncomfortable and a little uncertain about it, but you know, you've made an effort to bring me into the fold and to teach me, and I really appreciate that. And I told him, like, you know, it's not easy to like just approach somebody and just like try to break the ice like I am right now, but and I said these words. He said, yeah, I understand. And you know, I kind of just asked him about the company and you know, where things are going, how he feels about it. And he, yeah, I could tell that, you know, it made a little bit of a difference. And I told him, and again, this goes back to what I was saying about showing up 100%. It's not just for you. It's for the fact that you don't exist in a vacuum. You're part of something larger than yourself. I told him, you know, hey, if there's, and it wasn't about the money, it was more just about helping out. And I told him, hey, if there's anything I can do to help make things run smoother around here, if there's any additional responsibilities that I can take on that would help you out, please let me know. Not only do I want to learn, but I'd like to make a difference here if I can. I want to help you guys out. I want to make things run as smoothly as they can. And I know I'm new, and I know it takes time to get the experience, but I just wanted to put it out there. And he said, okay, that's great. And we left it at that. And you know, it was my heart was racing before I approached him because he's a little of a rough guy, and it's a blue collar kind of job, and that's not really what I'm used to. But I did it anyway, and that's this exact thing. I'm trying to teach myself to just do the uncomfortable thing, and I'm trying to share this with you because I think when you do the things that are uncomfortable, you get good at doing uncomfortable things in general, and that makes you stronger, more resilient, more able to handle what life throws at you. And again, this goes back to what I was saying. When you take on the responsibilities of life for yourself willingly, not just because you have to, willingly, voluntarily, that is where meaning lies. That is where meaning is found. That is the essence of what makes a good life. It's not about the happiness and the happiness comes from that. It's, you know, it's not about like the pleasure, you know, the pleasurable moments. It's happiness is fleeting. Joy can be fleeting. You can make joy at every moment if you're grateful enough. But there's more meaning in life when you're responsible, and the more responsibility you can take on, not just for yourself but for others, it makes you into somebody different. It makes you into a pillar of the community. Maybe that's the right way to put that. It makes you better for everybody. It makes everything better for everyone. Yeah. So I'm almost home. I just want to maybe recap kind of what I was discussing earlier, and I'll try to come around real quick. So I talked about compounding beats the hustle, or the hustle mindset, grindset, whatever you want to call it. And again, I got notes here. So the hustle myth is you're either all or nothing. Okay, fair enough. You should be all in if you can be. That's what we've been discussing too. That's what we've been discussing as well. It's about, the hustle trap is immediate gratification. It's unsustainable, and it leads to burnout because it's based on this idea of like sheer discipline and willpower, which is basically just your ego saying, I'm going to do this no matter what, even though it's very unrealistic because we all have days where we're 100%, other days where we're not. And it's the days when you're not that you're going to fall, and that's when the real problems happen because it hits you in the face that it's unsustainable. And then you feel shameful and shitty about yourself because you thought it's all on you and you're responsible for this. In reality, it's because either you didn't know what I'm talking about or you weren't set up for success. And if you want to succeed at whatever you're trying for, you can, but you have to plan it. You have to plan it with systems, intentional micro systems. Little things here and there, little agents that weave your life together in such a way that you can just walk and glide through your day-to-day life and focus on the things that actually make the difference for you. That 1% difference day by day, that again amounts to a 37x return annually if you do 1% daily better every day, because it's 1% better than the day before that. So every day is better. It's hard to make this any clearer. It hits you in the face. 37 times better than you were by the end of the year if you do this day by day, every day for 365 days a year. 37 times better. Like, what the hell? That's crazy, man. Like, take that seriously. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be a giant goal, but just do a little bit of work every day, a little better than the day before, and there you are. You're at the top of that mountain you wanted to climb. And again, systems beat goals. And when you build systems and you get some momentum going, that gives you the confidence to keep pushing. And if you're about to do something you should do and you need to do, and you're about to hesitate, don't do it. Use the 3-2-1 rule. 3-2-1 liftoff. I'm doing it no matter freaking what. 3-2-1 liftoff. I'm gone. I'm doing the thing. I'm not waiting. If you can't commit to doing it for hours on end, commit to just 5 minutes, and that will change your what you're focused on. Your mind will focus on the thing you're trying to focus on, that you're intentionally trying to work on, and it will make it easier, and you'll have less friction to stick to it. You'll actually probably want to stick to it because your dopamine will rewire to that thing you're working on. And again, the other part of this was the plateau of latent potential. So there gets to a time, if you're successful and you work at your goals for long enough, you're eventually going to get to that middle point in the curve just before it goes exponential and it goes way, way up in a spike. And that could be weeks, days, weeks, months, hopefully not years, but it could take a while where you feel like no progress is being made. And then all of a sudden, if you just stick with it a little longer, just stick with it and keep trying to improve, at some point it's just going to go ballistic. It's going to go exponential. It's going to go to the moon. But you got to stick with it, because that's when people jump off the boat. That's when they lose faith, they lose hope, because they think that whatever they're trying to do, they've been abandoned, they've been let go, they've been set up for failure, and it's not true. It's just that's part of how it works. You just got to stick with it. Don't let go. Don't lose hope. Don't lose faith. Hold on to it. You will get there if you keep at it. And again, I'll remind you, you're worth it. You're worth that effort. Just do it. Do it, because you know by the end of it, it's going to change your life. Seriously, do it. So, the final bit of the recap here. Tiny habits. Make them so small and so easy that you can't say no. I gave you the example of my toothbrush and toothpaste on my desk. I can't say no. It's right there. It takes me 2 minutes, and it makes a world of difference. My breath smells better, less cavities, whiter teeth. I have a better smile. Like, it just makes everything. It multiplies the goodness in my life. There's small things that you can do and make into systems and micro habits that will radically change your life for the better. You just got to put them into action. Figure out what those are. There's little things you could be doing right now that would change your life. And I think a lot of us know that too. And that's the big thing, right? You know you can do better, but you're not. Whether it's laziness, you don't believe in yourself, whatever. Hey, I'm here to tell you right now, you're worth it. And you should put that effort in. It's not much effort. It might seem like a lot in that moment, but you're worth it. So please, for you, for people around you, do it. The other thing, habit stacking. After X, I will do Y. After this, I'll do that. If you're already on that track, doing the first bit of thing you need to do, if there's something else you got to take care of, just leapfrog to the next thing. 3, 2, 1, go. Don't wait. There's less friction once you've done your first task. It's just that first one. Just getting started is the hard part. You know, get the flywheel going. Once it's going, you can just hop on, do the next thing. And then the final thing is reframing failure. Never have 2 misses in a row. Missing once, that can be an accident. Missing twice, you're making a new habit of intentionally missing. And that is where you're committing a sin against yourself and potentially those around you. If the aim you were aiming at benefits everybody in the long run, not just yourself, which it shouldn't, by the way. It should always be for everybody. When you get better and you show up for yourself, you're showing up better for everyone and everything you do. And it impacts the world. It vibrates around you. It makes such a difference. So please show up. And I believe that's it. My stop is here, but again, I wanted to thank you for watching. If you did watch or listen to this and you found something that resonated with you, I'd love for you to comment and let me know how it impacted you. You know, if you got something out of this, maybe like the video, and if you liked it and you want to see more, maybe consider subscribing too. I'd very much appreciate it. I plan to keep making content like this. I'm going to make other types of videos, other types of content in the same vein, but they might vary a little bit. They're all going to be on the same topic of self-improvement, becoming better. Again, not just for yourself, but just showing up to life, right? You know, I think we can all have an impact on the world, and I think it's within us to decide that we're worth it. So I hope that this helped you. I sincerely do, and I hope, even if it's just one person, I hope it helped you. And I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for listening, and I want you to know that this is from my heart. So thank you. Share it, like, subscribe, comment, all the things people say at the end of these kind of videos, whatever. Thank you for watching. Thank you for taking the time. And thank you for showing up. Cheers. May you be well.